lady is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, the Rules Committee did fine. It was open and it allowed all the budgets, as he said, to be brought to the floor. It's what we have to work with that is concerning to me, because the budget's a reflection of our values, and through that prism, we're considering today is morally bankrupt. The budget that the majority proposes today puts corporations and the wealthiest Americans above the needs of working and middle-class families. It increases military spending while slashing the safety net for the middle class and protects tax loopholes for corporations that ship jobs overseas. In short, this extreme partisan proposal takes a hatchet to the notion of shared responsibility and places the financial burdens of a generation upon the shoulders of seniors, the poor, and the middle class. Under this budget, the millionaires will receive multiple tax cuts totaling at least $300,000, and not a single corporate tax loophole would be closed. Under this budget, we would see the end of Medicare as we know it. In its place, seniors would be offered the option of a fixed-price voucher with which they may go into the market to find their own insurance, with no guarantee that the voucher you receive will come even close to covering the cost of the health care. Meanwhile, the landmark Affordable Health Care Act, which is the first law to start addressing the soaring cost of health care, would be repealed. Repeal of the law would mean that children under 26 could no longer be insured by their parents. Millions of Americans suffering from chronic diseases could once again be denied care. I don't think many Americans, certainly I didn't know it, understand. I learned this during the Clinton health care debate, that most policies have a yearly and a lifetime limit. As a matter of fact, at that time when we were debating the Clinton health care plan, that limit was about $1 million, which means that an emergency like head trauma from a car accident, a bike accident, or just a workplace error on a construction site could lead you to reaching your limit, and you would no longer be eligible for health insurance. Let me say that in another way. Once you reach that limit with your pre-existing condition, you would be uninsurable in the United States for the rest of your life. The health care bill that everybody's talking about now does away with that, both yearly limits and lifetime limits. Now, right now, most individuals still change this danger, but thanks to the Affordable Care Act, lifetime and yearly limits will be phased out in 2014. That's a very important part of this bill. People who want to repeal health care have said absolutely nothing about what they expect to replace it with. We would assume that people with pre-existing conditions could no longer get coverage. Under the Republican budget, those protections would be taken away and the vulnerable Americans would be left to figure out how to survive on their own. And we talk about the mandate to buy insurance. Right now, under the present law, we are all paying for people who are uninsured. Those people who choose not to buy insurance, who have to go to the hospital for emergencies or any other reason, are paid for. They are treated by the law, but we pay the cost. It is estimated in some areas that we spend $1,000 a year more, those of us who are insured, simply to cover the uninsured. Now, you can continue doing that and paying everybody else's health care costs, or we can keep this health care bill, which is so important to us. The Republican budget not only takes from the poor and gives to the rich, it even fails to fulfill the promise of a balanced budget. Just this morning, Politico published an article entitled, quote, "Ryan Plan Puts GOP in Long-Term Budget Bind," end quote. In the article, the author writes, quote, "It is a bold, even bellicose election year challenge. But the strict revenue limits could postpone for a generation the conservative promise of a balanced budget," end quote. Even the majority themselves admit this plan will add $3.1 trillion to our deficit between 2013 and 2022. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to insert the article from Politico into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
Under the majority's plan, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates that all government spending, except for Social Security and paying down the debt, will have to be cut by 1/3 in order to balance the budget by 2040. This draconian approach means that seniors and the poor will receive worse health care. Our children will continue to learn in crumbling schools, and we will all travel as usual on failing transportation network with bridges that are substandard and roads that are cracking, that is inefficient and totally out of date. This vision does not reflect the ideals of a better America, nor the hope. It is neither a reflection of the values that I hold dear nor the values of the people whom I represent. I join many of my colleagues in supporting the Democrat alternative being offered by Mr. Van Hollen. The Democrat alternative budget supports the creation of jobs in the high-tech and construction fields. It invests in our future by prioritizing education as we must, also prioritizing health and the economy, and reduces the deficit through responsible spending cuts based with revenue raised by having everyone pay their fair share and by closing corporate tax loopholes. The Democrat alternative is a thoughtful, balanced approach. One does not place the entire burden of sacrifice on the backs of seniors, the poor, and the middle class. I urge my colleagues to oppose the misguided and dangerous proposal before us and instead consider one of the numerous alternatives that protect the middle class while reducing our deficit in a responsible way, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlelady.